I'm literally gonna wait for you.
Like the video.
And I see you're gonna be like, nah, I'm not gonna like. I'm just keep watching.
Just subscribe.
And you think the clip gonna cut right here, but it's not because I'm still waiting for you to click that like button, and the subscribe, and the post notification button.
Vinland Saga Season 2 is gonna be something different. If you're a fan of Season 1, then I'm assuming at this point you started watching Season 2. And you might find yourself in a situation where the expectations that you came in with are not gonna be met. To be honest with you, it's a pretty different anime compared to the first. In the first, you had a very action-packed anime filled with gore and fighting and blood. Everything just seemed to be a never-ending battle every single episode. I would know because that's one of the reasons why I actually watched it. But Season 2 is actually different in that it's a season about reflection. You have this character who's such a badass in Thorfinn, a person who just does what he wants whenever he wants, however he wants, who's this young kid who just goes around fighting and he's doing these incredible feats. Everything seems to be solved with being physical or crafty, but it's always about fighting the Viking way. But in this season, you find Thorfinn in a different sort of circumstance where he's now a slave. And in him being a slave, there's a lot of lessons to be learned. This really sounds weird to actually like kind of big up slavery, but no, slavery bad.
Police department, search warrant! Police department, search warrant! Ah, hey, what?
In this position that he's in, it's kind of good for him because in him being a slave, he finds himself learning a lot and reflecting a lot and looking at some of the actions that he used to do when he was younger. You have this character who believed in the Viking way, this freedom, just moving from village to village, pillaging everything, taking everything, fighting for glory. That was the whole point, until he realizes that maybe that's not the right way. He starts to reflect on some of his actions because he's now in a position of the people that he would put in. So in Season 1, you have these Vikings, right? We had their side of the story and they seemed like these glorious people who just seem amazing. But the truth is, there's a dark side to them when you're on the other side. You have these people where to us, they're like, oh, with context, they're glamorous people. But then you get to see them and understand them from the perspective of the people who they would pillage. So you have these people who are peacefully living their lives. All of a sudden, there's a boat that lands and huge men just running out of that ship and attacking them and taking everything and killing people and burning everything down. And you start to think to yourself, oh, no, that's not so good. And Thorfinn gets that opportunity because he can reflect on his actions. After Season 1, he kind of loses his goal. And in the start of Season 2, you notice that he's a man who's lost. He doesn't necessarily know what to do. His whole point of existing is gone. So all he has is just this reflection where he can think about who he is and what he wants to be and what the world should be. But the one thing he's realizing very quickly is the way that he thought was correct is not the correct way. Even the person who he wanted to kill actually showed him that the path that he was taking wasn't necessarily the correct one. So in this season, the reflection is such a key factor of Season 2 because it builds the world. It makes the world bigger. In Season 1, we just got a small bit. But now you start to see all of the politics and how people have to traverse the world. Initially, where we thought it was fun, it's not. You fear these people, these Vikings. It's not the same as it was in Season 2 where it's just like, oh, we fight and whatever. You get to see how people see them, where they have to move around with fear, being afraid of them because Vikings are Vikings, honestly. So in Season 2, the whole point of reflection is super key. That is what is building Thorfinn. Now, Thorfinn being the character that he is, he completely takes a 180 from who he was. He starts to realize that some of the actions that he used to do don't correlate that well. What he was doing wasn't correct. He starts to feel as if maybe the world is a bit bigger than what he thought. Maybe there's other ways. He starts to reflect on the discussions that he used to have with his father and certain people, and that maybe there's a path that doesn't need violence, it doesn't need bloodshed, it doesn't doesn't result in what he sees around him. In this season, it's very crucial to see this development because as a character, he grows, which is something that does happen in certain anime where they grow, but it's usually about strength. Here, it has nothing to do with strength. He's growing mentally, and you as a viewer start to understand his views and his thinking and his philosophies that he develops on his path. Initially, when we watched the anime, he was a boy tossed into this war filled with men, and he had to grow up quickly. But this season is actually making us realize that he's still a boy and he has a long way to go to become the man that he wants to be. From season 1, he's got a lot of idols who he can decide who to become more like, his father or Askeladd. He's trying to make a difference and he's trying to make a change in a world that's filled with violence. But at the same time, you see him conflicted in his mind because of his past. The fact that he wants to preach this ideology of peace, but at the same time, in the back of his head, he's got these demons about the hypocrisy of his approach. So you're gonna try and tell everybody to be peaceful and there's other ways, but you spent most of your life killing people. And in some situations, he's still forced to decide whether he should fight or not. So he constantly battles this ideology that he's trying to create, that I want to create peace, but at the same time, sometimes in this world, it seems like violence is the only language that these people know. So throughout the anime, you find Thorfinn having to develop this philosophy that he wants to create. And that's why the season is so important. It's just the journey of him accepting his flaws, accepting the mistakes, and growing. And that's the whole point of the season, is we see what happens to a character who was tossed into a world where he had to be a monster and now he's trying to become a man. Obviously, the anime is gonna look good. It was done by Studio Mappa, so...
Man, I quit. You quit? I'm done. Yes, I quit. I'm tired of this.
What?
No, I'm done.
You done?
I'm done wasting time. I'm about to get started on...
Oh, you done wasting time?
Right now.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
The animation is gonna be good, and also the emotions that they express. If you don't really care too much about him growing in terms of like his philosophies and how he approaches life or whatever, just watch it for the animation. The animation is beautiful. The way that they show emotions, the way that they create these figures, the way that the world is built, it's just such a beautiful world to see. The animation is good, the story is good, everything is good. It's just that it won't have as much action as people expected. But I think that if we really take a look at the anime at the beginning, it's staying true to what it was. It's a real story, and not every story is filled with action and action the whole time. There needs to be a period of development. That's an opportunity that Thorfinn is afforded that others weren't because they were killed. So Thorfinn has an opportunity that few ever get in that world. So I think that you should give this anime a chance because I really think that it's worth a watch. And I think that there's a lot to be learned from this anime. So, yeah.
Hey, what's good, bro? Hey, let's holler at you real quick.
And they're off. They get him to the ground very quickly, and they're beating the mess out of him.